As long as we don't go anywhere near balancing, we'll be all right.
Didn't catch that. What? Sorry, what was it? What did you say?
As long as we don't go anywhere near balancing, we'll be all right.
It's all right. You're all good for balance today. Apart from some.
Ah, here we go. Apart from.
Apart from balancing out yourself.
Oh, okay. Right.
Good one.
Yeah.
Cool. So, guess where we're going to begin?
Butterfly supported with blocks that I can't find.
Yeah, I hope you can find them or find something or use anything that you wish to use as support. So it doesn't have to be blocks, it can be foam roller or bolster. Just making sure that the bottom of the support goes just where the shoulder blades meet in the middle, and make sure that your head is supported. And then take the feet together. Let the knees fall wide apart. Arms spread into whichever starting position. Feels good to open the chest and the shoulders, but it doesn't feel too stressful that it forces your spine to lift up, arch, in a way that it shouldn't be arching. Of course, we want the upper part of the back to begin to arch, which then creates that back bend and the expansion in the chest and the ribs. So just checking into the body. Most importantly, we don't want the rib cage to be flaring upwards or it feel like the pelvis is tilting forwards. So somewhere where your lower spine feels nestled and relaxed. And then just allow your eyes to close or the eye gaze to soften for a moment. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Connecting into the feeling of the diaphragm expanding on the breath in, where it sits just below the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the hip bones. On the breath out, allow the waist to draw in, narrowing your waistline. Observe your natural breathing rhythm. And then to keep your focus in your breath the entire time. This enables us to stay as present as possible. It enables us to stay in the moment. So just check in again. You're breathing into your diaphragm and you're breathing out, allowing your diaphragm to completely empty and your waistline to fully narrow. Check that your spine feels relaxed. And allow it to take the full support from the support and the floor. Check in that you're in this moment. If you find that outside thoughts are starting to enter your mind, you can choose them to let them stay. Or you could choose to move them out of your forefront of focus. And how you do that is by just allowing the thoughts to sit there in the back of your mind, but at the same time, focus on breath. And if you find it's hard to focus on your breathing, say to yourself, breathing in as you're doing it and breathing out when you're doing it. Connect into the feeling of your body softening as you exhale. And your body enlarging as you inhale. If you do want to intensify your position a little bit more, move your arms above your head. Just again, as you do so, be mindful that you don't arch through the chest and through the ribs any more than the support comfortably guides you through. Take 5 more deep breaths. At the end of those deep breaths, slowly move your arms back down to your sides. Roll to one side. Did someone say something then?
Feedback.
Ah, I thought it was an almighty like groan from coming out. Yeah, roll to one side to come off of the support and then bring your back down onto the floor. Just take a moment to allow your spine to rest on the ground. So one more deep breath in here. And then we're going to move into quad stretch. In fact, I'll do this leg first. So roll onto your left side, take your right foot or ankle, squeeze the heel in towards the bum and find the quad stretch. Check that the bottom leg, so the left leg, the knee comes up to hip height, which then enables both legs to split further apart, deepening the feeling in your quad. So option one here is to stay. Option two, drop the foot down to the floor, possibly both your shoulders as well, depending on how it feels on your back. Keep the heel squeezed up towards your bum so we don't lose that stretch in the front of the right quad. Then if you wish to, you can place the left foot to the outside of the right knee, just to guide the knee down to the floor a little bit more. If you find that then that forces your hips to rise and your lower back to overarch, well, if I can't reach it now, you can alternatively not put the foot on the outside of the leg, but you can pop a cushion underneath where the foot goes, where your back goes on the right side. So it provides a little bit more support and comfort and enables you not to overarch through the spine. Adding in another option here, if you want to take it, arms overhead, take the left wrist or forearm with the right hand. If you've got the forearm, in fact, clasp the other forearm with the other hand as well, and then just guide your shoulders up to the right top hand corner to add in a little bit of a side bend. And what's important here is creating or finding the intensity of the pose, but without it causing pain. It should never be painful. It should just be nice. And especially what we're watching out for is that the body doesn't fight against the stretch that you're in. So if it's in a place where it can stay relaxed, or your body can stay relaxed whilst you're there, then that's what the aim is for. If you can't relax, something needs to change. Now that's a true statement, isn't it? Take 5 more deep breaths. At the end of your 5 breaths, lower the arms if they're above your head. Take the left foot off the right knee. Again, roll over to your left side a little to be able to remove the right leg with comfort. And then roll over. Taking the left ankle or shin with the left hand to move into the quad stretch on the left leg. Right knee up to hip height. Aim is to keep your hips stacked over one another, not having one that hip back or hip forwards if you stay on your side. However, if you are moving into the next stage, then obviously we want the hip to turn onto the diagonal. Which then takes the pressure off the lower back. So again, settling that foot down to the floor, making sure it feels comfortable. If you find that it pulls or puts a lot of pressure on the top of your foot, then dropping to the side a little bit more can help. And then if you want to go the next stage further, right foot onto the outside edge of the left knee. Where both sides can feel completely different to one another, you might find that this side doesn't enable you to do so where it does so on the other side. And that's okay, that's all good. In fact, it might even feel better not to try and push it. Then if you want to go there, take the right arm over towards the left side of your mat, just gently guiding the shoulders there with it. Just remember, it's more important to go by how it feels in your body than how it looks. Again, focus on breathing into your diaphragm. And not just the diaphragm here. As you breathe in, notice how the rib cage from the upper part of your back anchors you down to the floor just as much as filling up lower down the torso does. Take 5 more deep breaths. At the end of your 5 breaths, slowly move your arms back down to your sides. Roll onto your right side to be able to remove the left leg with ease. Oh, and then just gently hug your knees towards your chest. Rock yourself up when you're ready. Seated forward fold. How you want to do this, I'm going to give you so many options. This is a new one, but it's only just because that's it makes sense to hold it. So I'm just putting my belt through my foam roller. So to put it at the end of the feet to help bring the calf stretch in. You don't have to do that You can use blocks at the end of the feet. You can just use your belt or a band on itself, or you can relax your feet and your ankles and take out the calf stretch. It depends on what you want. Block underneath the knees can help the hamstrings lengthen, especially if your calves are tight, because the raising of the knee helps to move the attachment area away from where it inserts at the top of into your hips. It helps to raise the insertion point away, so therefore your hamstring lengthens. Butt cheeks stay on the ground. So if you notice that they're starting to lift up and forward, roll the back of your pelvis back. And then the next bit, you can pop a cushion, a chest. No, that didn't make any sense, did it? A cushion or a block or anything soft underneath the chest and between the chest and the thighs. And the final option is, if you've got enough equipment left over, a little block underneath the head really helps the neck to relax and lose the stress.
Are you producing merchandise soon?
Tempting. And of course, depending on where is tight in your body is going to be the place where you feel it the most. So if you take your attention to that area and breathe out. Create a longer exhalation than inhalation. And the easiest way to do that is to pick a number to breathe in, counting, and then try to breathe out for roughly twice the length. Check in with how you've managed to stay focused so far. Are you still in your breath? Scan your body from head to toe, starting with your head. Can you relax your forehead? Can you relax your jaw? Maybe encourage a gentle tuck of the chin towards the chest. Notice how that can emphasize the feeling and the sensation traveling from the back of the neck down either side of the spine. Is there anywhere in your back you can let go of? Soften around the top of your hips. Soften from the top of the back of your leg all the way to your knees. And from the back of your knees, down the back of your leg to your ankles and heels. Allowing your calves to soften. Take 10 more deep breaths. At the end of your 10th breath, slowly unravel. Whew. Probably got a block indent in the back of my legs now. Brilliant. Take your hands behind your back and then reverse tabletop just to open out your hip a little bit more, in the front even. One leg to the floor, lift the hips up. Just be there for a second and swap the legs over. And then we're going to move into swan. Or 90-90 position. If you'd rather stay here, then that's all good. As you fold forwards, or lengthen the left leg behind, with the right leg coming across the front of the mat.
Do they do different things? 90-90 or swan?
Well, you sit into the outside of the hip a little bit more in the 90-90 position. So if you'd rather focus on the outside of the hip a little bit more, you might feel that in the same place when you're in swan anyway. The other benefit of this one is you get a little bit of internal rotation in the front of that thigh here. I mean, you do that in the back leg as well. There's a bit of internal rotation, but yeah, it just helps some people that have less range of motion in the back back leg in the first place. It can feel a lot nicer, but like it all depends on what you want to feel and how your body feels. If we're going for the full swan, make sure it feels like the right knee's turning outwards from the hip. And it doesn't matter exactly how high or how tucked in the ankle is to the hip, as long as it doesn't put too much pressure on the outside of the knee. And then blocks can be supportive if there's space as well. So underneath the right butt cheek, the block can go, or it could even go in the front of the left hip. Or another option that I like to do sometimes is place a block underneath one side of the chest or just under the shoulder, which can feel nice if it feels like you're slightly twisting or dropping more down to one side than the other, or if you find it hard to balance.
Probably come out in a cold sweat then.
See, even in a pose like this, you do kind of need to keep your balance central, even though you're not requiring balance to stay in it. So in particular, the right side of your hip, the butt cheek widens, so the sit bone is furthest away from the middle of your hip that it goes. That enables your glute to stretch. However, on the other side, where the leg's going in the completely opposite direction, the sit bone and the front of the thigh both move in towards the middle of the hip a little bit more, and then that enables you to offset your balance. As you take your breath in, if you imagine that your right leg is reaching forwards and your left leg is reaching backwards. And then as you exhale, everything returns back towards the middle of your hips. And again, that recenters you. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then gently lift yourself up away from the floor. Oh, easier said than done. And do anything that you need to do as to transfer to the other side, or just to make your body feel a little bit looser. Maybe pedal the feet up and down in a downward dog, or anything you wish.
Oh,
You can get out of it. And then transition to the other leg when you're ready, bringing the left leg across the width of the mat. Taking time to settle into it. Checking that left knee is slightly wider than where the hip bone is on the left side. straight away tune into the feeling that the legs are splitting in opposite directions. You can almost imagine that you're doing the splits on the inhale. And the exhale. Melt your body back to where it came from, back to where it's stable. Back to the middle of your hips. Anytime your mind gets distracted away from where you are, bring it back into your breathing. And then embrace the sensation you feel. We're not necessarily chasing sensation. We're just keeping ourselves aware of what sensation exists. Embracing that feeling by allowing yourself to enjoy it and not fight it. And sometimes when you don't feel as much sensation as you'd like to, sometimes you have to then question, should I actually be relaxing more? Take 5 more deep breaths. At the end of those breaths, gently climb up onto the hands. Or spin your feet round in front of you and then lay down onto your back. We're going to take a gentle twist. So with the knees bent, move the hips over to the right edge of the mat. Cross then the right thigh over the left thigh and drop the legs down to the left. Or alternatively, you can keep them stacked. Or for more, wrap the right foot around the left ankle for eagle legs as you drop the legs down to the left. Turn the head towards, in fact, just wherever the head would like to go, let it go there. Breathe into the back of the shoulders, allowing them to widen. And then focus on breathing into your diaphragm. So in that imaginary belt between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the hips, you breathe into that belt. Feel it push out in every direction through that breath in. And on the breath out, feel the entire waist draw in. Take 3 more breaths on this side. Letting every breath feel completely nourishing, absolutely delicious. And then after those 3 breaths, lifting the legs back into the middle, unhooking the leg, lifting the hips over to the right edge of the mat with the shoulders still where they are. Sorry, that's the left edge of the mat if I just said the right. Crossing the left thigh over the right thigh and then allowing the legs to drop to the right, aiming to stack the left hip over the right hip. Taking this left arm out to wherever suits your body and then picking the direction that you want your head to go. Ideally being the opposite way to what you positioned it for the previous side. breath is the most important thing here. So it doesn't matter what position you've ended up in, as long as you breathe deeply into the diaphragm and letting it go effortlessly from the diaphragm. With no specified length. Just breathe. Take 5 more deep breaths. And then gently return the legs back into the middle of the mat. Hug your knees into your chest. Just allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears as you hold your legs there. So your neck, your shoulders, your chest are all soft and relaxed too. Either choose to stay here or place your legs into the ground, or towards the ground, even in whatever position you find comfortable, or take a different option where you find a block or a block on a cushion underneath the hips and lift the legs up towards the ceiling. If you've got a wall nearby you and you want to place the legs up against the wall instead, then of course you're welcome to do that. Or even like another adaptation of this position is you can bring your knees into your chest just with your hips slightly raised, which then gives you a bit more of an inverted feeling. I quite like bending the knees a little bit more in this position as well, because then it's like a double whammy effect. You still get the nice stretch through the lower back, but also you get the benefit of your legs being up in the air. So one of the most gentle inversions. Allow your breathing to remain constant and fluid. So the inhalation rolls into the exhalation and the exhalation rolls back into the inhalation. If you've got your legs up, you might notice that you can feel the blood starting to trickle from your toes down your legs on the inside. Which takes the pressure away from your heart. So there's not so much of a big demand on it to pump the blood to the rest of your body and back to the heart again. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then gently lower your legs. Take as much time as you need. Until you can place the feet to the floor. Remove the support from underneath the hips. And then take your arms overhead and legs out long. Just give your body a big stretch. And then in your own time, in your own way, return back up to seated. But take as much time as you need. Oh, blimey. Just seeing what the time is.
Don't take as much time as you need.
Yeah. As much time as you need, but
Hurry up.
how's everyone feeling?
Lovely.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very good, thank you.
good. Oh.